Hello, we are here today to tell you about child labor. First of all, we are going to define and describe the issue. Children around the world are routinely engaged in paid and unpaid forms of work that are not dangerous to them. However, they are classified as child laborers when they are either too young to work or are involved in hazardous activities that may compromise their physical, mental, social, or educational development. In the least developed countries, just more than 1 in 4 children ages 5 to 17 years are engaged in labor that is considered harmful to their health and development. Child labor spans various sectors including agriculture, manufacturing, quarrying and mining, and domestic service. The worst form of child labor, including slavery, prostitution and pornography, illicit activities, and work likely to harm children's health, safety, or morals. Sub-Saharan Africa has the largest proportion of child laborers. 29% of children aged 5 to 17 years. This is a stark comparison to the Middle East and North Africa, where 5% of children in this age group are performing potentially harmful work. In Chile, the National Survey of Children's and Adolescent Activities indicates that there are around 220,000 girls and boys in child labor.
Currently, the poverty is the main cause of child labor, but there is other causes like families that make their children drop out from school to help with basic labors. 97% of this situation happens in developing countries. A report by the Ministry of Labor estimates that in Chile, 64% of working children belong to the poorest 40% of the population. Lack of access to education. Children who cannot access to an education are more likely to become victims of child labor. According to the International Labour Organization, 152 million children work even before learning to read or write. Attitude toward girls, which forces them to leave school to work or get married. The conduct and business environment, that is, when there are unscrupulous business actors who practice forms of exploitation of work. As said before, employers prefer to use minors because they are obedient and cheap human hours. They are subject to labor and economic conditions that adults will consider unacceptable without resistance. They are agile fingers. Many adults justify child labor by referring to greater agility of their hands, which, being smaller, can pay more attention to detail. Inadequate or inconsistent laws, which leave gaps between the age of compulsory education and the age suitable for full-time work, or which do not rigorously apply international regulations. Companies that abuse child labor exploitation are Nike, Monsanto, Cargill, Archer Daniels, Midland, Tommy Hilfiger, Timberland, H&M, Mark & Spencer, Diesel, Gap, C&A, Inditex, Cotterfield, and McDonald's.
In general parameters, child labor has decreased worldwide. 246 million of children were victims in 2000, and in 2019 they were 152 million. But the decline of this number is slowing. This had been happening in Asia, Pacific region, and Latin America. On the other hand, in Sub-Saharan Africa, the child labor seems to have increased in the last years. Here we can see a bad performance by the African governments, but the United Nations Children's Fund cites the slow economic development, the growing number of armed conflicts, and the natural disasters are the main reasons. This institution wants to take measures against the child labor of refugees with educational programs in conflict zones. They ask that more be invested in education, as well as in health and social security systems. Other institution who worries about the child labor is the International Labour Organization, who created in 1992 the International Program for the Eradication of Child Labor. The main objective of this program is to promote the process of eliminating child labor through joint actions with governments, employers' organizations, worker organizations, non-government organizations, and other social groups. In 1996, it began in Latin America in 16 countries, including Chile. An important international agreement is the International Convention on the Rights of the Child of the United Nations, signed in 1989, which emphasized that children have the same rights as adults, and emphasizes those rights that they have given for their special condition of human beings, who, because they haven't reached full physical and mental development, require special protection. Currently, only 3 countries have not ratified this treaty: the United States, Somalia, and South Sudan. In Chile, the institution that deals with the rights of the children is CENAME. Although this year the public budget for this institution was increased by 6.6%, it is known that not all the needs of children are really covered. In addition, children aren't being treated well because there is no real person concerned. We believe that in general the countries haven't done a good job with their children because although child labor is decreasing more and more, there is not a real solution to this problem because money may never be enough, and because there is not a lack of staff specialized, those who want and treat these children with love. In addition, in continents such as Africa, there are many family economic needs that don't allow to end this problem soon.
Predictions to the future of child labor. Despite all the attention and efforts made by local and global organizations and governments, the data shows that the goal of eradicate child labor completely is still far from achieved. UNICEF forecasts that if child labor rates continue to drop, 121 million of children will still be victims of forced works by 2025. As you can see, the UN goal of abolish child labor by 2025 is far from reality. It is also evident that help each individual child to overcome the obstacles that make them work is impossible. And to close factories or block commercial trades with producers that use child labor might be more harmful due to the children might be fired and they will need to work in more dangerous places or even fall in slavery or be sexually abused. Some ideas on how to stop or solve child labor and how to make people aware, conscious, and responsible for it. First of all, we need legislation enforcement. It's necessary to regulate more hardly the accomplishment of anti-child labor laws, especially in countries and economies where the protection of the workers' services can reach, and there are many kinds of abusement in children. 2. Make better social protection programs and prevent child labor by lowering the vulnerability and need of families to make their children work. 3. Give access to quality education. It's necessary to ensure children can have a proper education, to have better opportunities, and therefore get better jobs and get better salaries. 4. Create prevention networks to allow preventing child labor in different markets and industries. 5. And finally, spread awareness campaigns to prevent child labor and be conscious that we all are responsible for this kind of global problems.